Chapter 1, The Day the Galaxy Chose War. For 6 decades, humanity had been known across the Galactic Council for a single trait. Compassion. While older civilizations measured power in fleets and territory, humans measured it in lives saved. Their ships arrived after disasters, wars, and plagues. They rebuilt cities that were not their own. They evacuated civilians they had never met. To many species, this behavior seemed irrational. Useful, certainly. Admirable, perhaps. Dangerous? Not at all. That assumption would become the greatest mistake in galactic history. Admiral Elias Ward stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above New Dawn Colony, watching a line of transport vessels rise from the planet below. Sunlight reflected from their hulls as they climbed through the atmosphere. The sight should have brought relief. Instead, it filled him with unease. The frontier system had become increasingly unstable over the past year. Several colonies near disputed borders were caught between political factions, accusations, and growing military activity. The Galactic Council insisted it was a temporary security matter. Elias had seen enough conflicts to know those words rarely ended well. A young officer approached. "Admiral, the evacuation convoy is on schedule." "How many aboard?" 20,000 children. Nearly 3,000 teachers, medical staff, and caretakers. Elias nodded slowly. "At least they'll be safe." The officer hesitated. "Do you trust the council escort?" That question lingered in the air. The convoy had been granted protected status under council authority. Multiple agreements guaranteed safe passage to core human worlds. On paper, everything was secure. On paper. "I trust the documents," Elias said. "The people behind them are another matter." Hours later, the convoy assembled beyond the colony's orbit. Dozens of civilian transports formed a defensive cluster around hospital ships and support vessels. Children crowded observation windows, excited by a journey many viewed as an adventure rather than an evacuation. A little girl waved toward a maintenance drone floating nearby. The drone flashed its lights. The girl laughed. Millions of kilometers away, High Marshal Varkon Threx watched the same convoy from the command deck of his flagship. His towering frame remained motionless as tactical displays rotated around him. A subordinate stepped forward. "Marshal, civilian status has been confirmed repeatedly." "I know. The transports contain no military assets." "I know." The officer swallowed. "Then why have we deployed a battle group?" Varkon's eyes narrowed. "Because humanity is becoming a problem." The officer wisely said nothing. For years, Varkon had watched human influence spread throughout the council. Their aid missions earned loyalty. Their diplomacy created alliances. Younger species increasingly looked to Earth instead of the council leadership for support. That trend had to end. A communication officer interrupted. "Marshal, final authorization request." Varkon stared at the convoy's icon. Thousands of children. Thousands of future humans. His expression never changed. Authorization granted. Back aboard the lead transport, Captain Mara Jensen reviewed navigation updates when an alert sounded. Her bridge crew turned toward incoming contacts. A wall of signals suddenly appeared. Council warships. Dozens of them. "What are they doing?" one officer asked. Jensen opened a channel immediately. "Council Task Force, this is Civilian Convoy Horizon Flight. We are operating under protected evacuation status." No response. The warship spread into attack formation. A chill ran through the bridge. "Transmit again." She did. Silence. Then another signal arrived. "Weapons locks." Every console erupted with warnings. Jensen's face drained of color. This must be a mistake. A transmission finally came through. Not from a fleet commander. From High Marshal Varkon himself. Convoy Horizon Flight, he said coldly. You are suspected of transporting insurgent personnel. Jensen stared at the screen. That is false and you know it. We have children aboard. Your statement has been recorded. Scan our ships. No. Panic spread across the bridge. Marshal, there are 20,000 children here. For a moment, neither side spoke. Then Varkon gave a single order. Fire. The stars erupted. Missiles accelerated across the void. The first transport vanished in white light. Another exploded seconds later. Fragments scattered into darkness. On every vessel, screams replaced confusion. Emergency beacons activated instantly. Distress calls flooded nearby systems. Children cried for parents who were light years away. Teachers tried to maintain order. Doctors raced through collapsing corridors. None of it mattered. The barrage continued. One transport broke apart along its centerline. Another disappeared inside a blooming sphere of plasma. Captain Jensen gripped her console. Keep broadcasting, she shouted. Record everything. Her final transmission escaped moments before the bridge vanished. Across human space, millions watched fragments of the unfolding nightmare as emergency signals reached civilian networks. Parents froze. Schools fell silent. Entire cities stopped moving. The galaxy witnessed enough to understand what was happening. Not enough to stop it. Hours later, an emergency council broadcast appeared on every major channel. High Marshal Varkon stood before the cameras. The operation targeted insurgent threats concealed within civilian traffic. Necessary force was applied. On Earth, Admiral Elias Ward watched the statement from a dark command center. Around him, nobody spoke. The room felt hollow. Then a technician broke the silence. Admiral, we've recovered a surviving data buoy. Elias turned. From the convoy? Yes. What does it contain? The technician looked pale. Everything. And for the first time that day, Elias felt something colder than grief. He felt certainty. The galaxy had just chosen war. Chapter 2, When Justice is Denied. The funerals lasted 23 days. Across Earth, Mars, Luna, Titan, and dozens of colonies, memorials filled parks, plazas, schools, and spaceports. Pictures of smiling children appeared on public screens. Candles illuminated city streets. Names scrolled endlessly across orbital billboards visible from orbit itself. No speeches could explain the loss. No ceremony could lessen it. Humanity mourned together. Admiral Elias Ward stood beneath a gray sky outside the Memorial Hall in Geneva. Thousands had gathered in silence. Among them were parents who still refused to believe their children were gone. A woman approached him after the service. She couldn't have been older than 40. My son was on the Horizon Flight. Elias met her eyes. I'm sorry. She nodded once. Bring me the truth. Not vengeance. Not revenge. The truth. Those words followed him back to Fleet Command. The recovered data buoy arrived under heavy security. Inside a classified briefing room, technicians restored its contents while military officials waited. The recording began. Captain Mara Jensen appeared on the screen. We are a civilian evacuation convoy. We have children aboard. Her voice remained steady. Then Varkon's face appeared. Cold. Unmoved. The room listened to every exchange. Every warning. Every plea. Every verification request. The evidence was undeniable. The convoy carried exactly what its manifests claimed. Children. Teachers. Medical workers. Nothing else. When the final recording ended, silence filled the room. A senior intelligence officer finally spoke. There's no ambiguity. No, Elias said quietly. There isn't. The next step should have been simple. Present evidence. Launch an investigation. Punish those responsible. Instead, obstacles appeared almost immediately. The Galactic Council delayed hearings. Evidence requests vanished into bureaucratic channels. Witness statements disappeared from official databases. Surveillance records became inaccessible due to convenient technical failures. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Someone was protecting Varkan. Weeks later, human diplomats arrived at the Council capital, a vast artificial world orbiting the center of galactic civilization. Its towers stretched above the clouds like mountains forged from silver. For centuries, it had symbolized law. Now it felt different. Behind closed doors, meetings produced little progress. Publicly, officials expressed sympathy. Privately, they stalled. One evening, Elias received an encrypted message. No identification. No origin. Only coordinates. Against advice, he went. The location led to an abandoned transit terminal far below the capital's surface. A lone figure waited near a maintenance platform. Tall. Gray-skinned. Nervous. Admiral Ward. I assume you're the one who contacted me. The alien glanced around before answering. My name is Saran Val. Council Analysis Division. Elias studied him. Why risk this? Because what happened was murder. Saran activated a portable projector. Files appeared between them. Orders. Communications. Authorization chains. Elias read silently. Each document deepened the horror. The attack had not been a mistake. Not a battlefield error. Not faulty intelligence. Varkan had approved the strike personally despite multiple reports confirming civilian status. Worse, several council officials helped conceal the truth afterward. How many know? Elias asked. More than admit it. Why come forward now? Saran's expression hardened. Because if this is allowed, every smaller species becomes expendable. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Elias copied everything. This changes things. It should. It will. Armed with new evidence, humanity demanded a formal hearing before the full council assembly. The request could no longer be ignored. Millions watched as delegates filled the immense circular chamber. Representatives from thousands of worlds occupied tiered platforms beneath a domed ceiling of transparent crystal. Elias stood at the center. Alone. The recordings played. Jensen's final transmission echoed throughout the chamber. Children's voices could be heard in the background. The room grew still. Then came the authorization logs. Varkan's orders. Internal messages. Suppression directives. Every piece connected. Every fact aligned. When the presentation ended, murmurs spread among the delegates. For the first time, Elias believed justice might prevail. Then the voting began. One by one, lights illuminated around the chamber. Not guilty. Procedural closure. Insufficient grounds. Case dismissed. Elias stared at the display. The evidence had not failed. The system had. A council moderator rose. The assembly expresses condolences to affected families. Compensation packages will be issued accordingly. Compensation. As if children could be assigned a market value. As if grief carried a price tag. Outside the chamber, reporters crowded around him. Questions came from every direction. Admiral, what's your response? Will humanity accept the ruling? Do you believe justice was served? Elias looked toward the massive council spire towering above the city. For years humanity had trusted these institutions. Trusted their promises. trusted their laws. Now he understood the truth. The council had already chosen a side. "We came seeking justice," he said. The crowd fell silent. "You offered paperwork." The statement spread across the galaxy within minutes. Back on Earth, emergency sessions began immediately. Parliament remained in continuous session for 31 hours. Military leaders, civilian representatives, and colonial governors debated behind sealed doors. Finally, the decision came. Authorization passed unanimously. Across human space, dormant shipyards awakened. Factories switched production lines. Reserve fleets received activation orders. Supply depots opened. The largest mobilization in human history had begun. From the command deck of Earth's Orbital Defense Headquarters, Elias watched warships leave their docks one after another. Hundreds became thousands. Engines ignited across the darkness. Nearby officers worked in absolute silence. Nobody celebrated. Nobody cheered. They all knew why those ships were departing. Humanity had exhausted every peaceful path. Far beyond Sol system, stars shimmered against the void. Elias studied them for a long moment. Then another message arrived from Intelligence Command. Varkon was gathering fleets. Preparing defenses. Preparing for war. Elias closed the report. The search for justice was over. The reckoning was about to begin. Chapter 3, The Other Side of Humanity. The galaxy expected revenge. It expected burning worlds, shattered fleets, and cities reduced to ash. That was how great powers responded to tragedy. Violence answered violence. History offered countless examples. Instead, humanity did something nobody anticipated. It told the truth. 3 days after fleet mobilization began, encrypted broadcasts appeared across thousands of systems. Every recording recovered from the Horizon flight was released to the public. Families heard the final moments of teachers protecting children. Citizens watched council officials manipulate reports. Military personnel listened to Varkon authorize the attack despite repeated warnings. The response was immediate. Outrage spread faster than any fleet. Protests erupted on council worlds. News networks abandoned official narratives. Legislators demanded inquiries. Even species that disliked humanity struggled to defend what they had seen. From the command deck of the carrier Resolute, Admiral Elias Ward studied incoming reports. "Status update," he asked. Commander Reyes looked up from her station. "Public support for the council continues to collapse. 6-member governments have requested independent investigations." And Varkon? Calling everything fabricated. Elias almost laughed. The evidence was overwhelming. Denial was all the Marshal had left. Human fleets advanced into frontier regions soon afterward. Not as conquerors. As protectors. Several border systems had suffered under corrupt governors loyal to the Council Security Authority. Food shortages were common. Medical supplies disappeared into black markets. Local populations endured years of exploitation. Human ships arrived carrying cargo instead of bombs. Relief teams established hospitals. Engineers repaired infrastructure. Security forces removed criminal administrators. Citizens who expected occupation found assistance. Word spread quickly. On the agricultural world Velis Prime, thousands gathered as human transports landed. An elderly alien farmer approached a relief officer. "Why are you helping us?" The officer handed him a supply package. "Because someone should." The old farmer stared at the answer. Perhaps that simple response accomplished more than any political speech. Meanwhile, Varkon grew increasingly desperate. From his fortress headquarters, he ordered aggressive countermeasures. Entire battle groups received instructions to intercept human fleets. He still believed superior numbers would guarantee victory. He underestimated his opponent. Human commanders avoided direct confrontations whenever possible. Instead of attacking heavily defended positions, they targeted logistics networks. Supply depots vanished. Communication relays failed. Fuel reserves disappeared behind precision raids. Council armadas found themselves stranded without support. Confusion spread through their ranks. Several admirals surrendered without firing a shot. Others switched sides entirely. Each defection weakened Varkin's position further. One evening, Elias received reports from the Orion Corridor, a major transportation route connecting dozens of systems. 3 Council fleets had withdrawn. 4 planetary governments had declared neutrality. 2 more openly supported humanity. The strategic map changed by the hour. Yet victory brought little satisfaction. Late that night, Elias visited a temporary memorial aboard the Resolute. A quiet chamber contained photographs collected from families across human space. Thousands of faces covered the walls. Students. Artists. Athletes. Dreamers. Children who never had the opportunity to become adults. He stopped before one image showing a young girl smiling beside a model spacecraft. The same girl who had waved at the maintenance drone before the attack. For several minutes, he said nothing. Then Reyes entered quietly. "You should get some rest." "Not tonight." She glanced at the photographs. "You're thinking about what comes next." "Every day." "And?" Elias folded his hands behind his back. "Part of me wants revenge." The admission hung heavily between them. Reyes didn't respond immediately. "That's understandable. Maybe." He looked toward the girl's picture. "But revenge won't bring them back." "No. It only creates new graves." The words reminded him why the war existed. Justice. Not destruction. That distinction mattered. The conflict reached its turning point at the Orion Gate. Varkon gathered every loyal formation he could assemble. Hundreds of warships converged around the massive transit nexus connecting Core Council territory to the frontier. It became the largest military concentration in modern galactic history. Observers expected a decisive battle. They were right. Human forces arrived from multiple vectors simultaneously. Advanced electronic warfare blinded enemy sensors. Decoy formations triggered premature deployments. Strike groups emerged where defenders least expected. Within hours, Varkin's carefully organized defenses began unraveling. His numerical advantage became meaningless. One council commander transmitted a surrender request. Another followed. Then another. Entire sectors of the battlefield simply stopped fighting. By the end of the engagement, Varkin's fleet ceased to exist as an effective force. Burning wreckage drifted through the gate network. Surviving vessels retreated toward the galactic capital. The road to the heart of the council lay open. Back aboard the Resolute, intelligence officers analyzed newly recovered data from captured archives. The findings exceeded expectations. Evidence connected multiple officials to the cover-up. Secret communications. Destroyed records. Coordinated misinformation campaigns. The conspiracy reached far beyond a single man. Reyes handed the final report to Elias. "This is everything." He reviewed the files slowly. Every hidden piece now fit together. The massacre. The deception. The obstruction. Years of corruption exposed at last. Outside the command deck windows, hundreds of human warships prepared for the next jump. Their destination appeared on navigation displays across the fleet. Galactic capital. Varkin's final refuge. Elias closed the report and looked toward the stars. The war was approaching its conclusion. Now the people responsible would face the truth they had spent months trying to bury. Chapter 4, Judgment of the Stars. Panic reached the galactic capital before the human fleet did. For centuries, the capital system had stood untouched. It was the center of government, commerce, and authority. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen while its towers remained unchanged. Now fear spread through those towers. News channels reported humanity's approach every hour. Citizens crowded transit stations. Government officials abandoned offices. Emergency shelters filled. Everyone expected the same outcome. Retribution. After all, if 20,000 children had been murdered, what would stop humanity from burning the capital to the ground? The answer arrived with the fleet. Thousands of human warships emerged from jump space beyond the system's defensive perimeter. Their formation stretched across the darkness like a steel horizon. Weapons remained silent. No missiles launched. No bombardment began. Instead, every communication network in the system activated simultaneously. Screens flickered to life across homes, businesses, government buildings, and public squares. Then the evidence appeared. Every recording. Every order. Every deleted report. Every hidden message. Nothing was omitted. Citizens watched Varkon authorize the attack. They watched officials suppress investigations. They watched representatives lie repeatedly to the galaxy. The truth flooded every corner of civilization. There was nowhere left to hide it. Within hours, the remaining support for Varkon collapsed. Military commanders surrendered their fleets. Council members publicly resigned. Former allies stepped before cameras and admitted their involvement. The structure that had protected the conspiracy began crumbling from within. Admiral Elias Ward stood aboard the Resolute and watched incoming reports. A communications officer looked up. The Capital Defense Force has stood down. Another officer followed. Government security units are surrendering. Then a third update arrived. Varkon is still inside the Council Citadel. Elias nodded. Prepare a shuttle. The Council Citadel rose above the capital city like a mountain of crystal and metal. Its halls had witnessed countless historic decisions. This would be another. Human security personnel escorted Elias through silent corridors. Nobody attempted resistance. The doors to the central chamber opened. High Marshal Varkon stood alone beside a panoramic window overlooking the city. For a moment neither man spoke. The galaxy's most powerful official appeared older than Elias remembered. Not physically. Defeated. You came personally, Varkon said. I did. Varkon looked toward the skyline. I expected an execution squad. Elias approached slowly. You expected many things. A bitter laugh escaped the marshal. You're winning. Congratulations. This was never about winning. Varkon turned. His eyes narrowed. Then why are you here? Elias thought of the memorial photographs aboard the Resolute. The parents. The funerals. The promises he had made. To finish this. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on Varkon's face. You could destroy me. Yes. You could destroy this entire city. Yes. Then why haven't you? The question lingered in the silence. Finally Elias answered. Because we're proving the difference between justice and murder. Varkon stared at him. For months he had viewed humanity through the lens of power and fear. He had expected rage to consume them. Instead, they had exposed him using the very laws he believed he controlled. Security officers entered the chamber. Varkon didn't resist. The hand restraints clicked shut. The man who had ordered the massacre was led away alive. Days later, a tribunal assembled unlike any in galactic history. Representatives from thousands of worlds attended. Proceedings were broadcast throughout known space. Evidence filled months of testimony. Witnesses spoke openly. Former officials confessed. Families of victims addressed the court. When the verdict finally arrived, nobody expressed surprise. Varkan and his co-conspirators were convicted on every charge. The massacre was officially recognized. The victims were no longer statistics. They became names. People. Children. The ruling marked the end of the war. The aftermath changed the galaxy. The old council dissolved under public pressure. In its place emerged a new alliance built upon equal representation. Smaller species gained voices previously denied to them. Independent oversight prevented concentrations of unchecked authority. Many worlds urged humanity to assume permanent leadership. Earth declined. The decision puzzled outsiders. Human representatives offered a simple explanation. Power had caused enough damage already. 1 year later, delegates from across the galaxy gathered near Earth for a dedication ceremony. At the center of the memorial stood 20,000 crystalline lights suspended above a reflective lake. One light for every child lost aboard the Horizon flight. As darkness settled, the lights illuminated together. The sight left many visitors speechless. Among them was a young student from a distant world. She stood beside her teacher and gazed at the glowing stars. Why did humans fight an entire government over this, she asked. Her teacher studied the memorial. Because those children mattered. The student looked across the countless lights. All of them. A gentle smile crossed the teacher's face. Especially all of them. The lights reflected across the water like stars scattered across the universe itself. Years later, fleets would grow older. Governments would change. New generations would inherit the future. Yet the lesson endured. The galaxy had once mistaken humanity's compassion for weakness. It never made that mistake again. For when innocent lives were threatened, humanity revealed the other side of its nature. And the stars remembered.